Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff Show. We have a fun show ahead for today. Not only are we going to be talking about all of the incredible comics that are on Final Order Cutoff for February 3rd, this upcoming Monday, but we're going to be talking about some of the crazy things that have been happening in the industry recently, how that affects Final Order Cutoff. But to be the absolute cherry on top of this cupcake of delightful comic and sequential art, we have an interview with Jimmy Palmiotti to talk about his new book that is on FOC this Monday. This is going to be a really great show. I hope you all stick along for the entire run. We have a lot to talk about. So make sure you guys tune in and we'll get this thing going. Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you. All right, everyone. Today we are focusing on comics that are on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, February 3rd of 2025. It's crazy that we are already nearing February. It feels like I'm 7 months into this year. But we have a lot of great comics to talk about before we get to a wonderful interview with the amazing Jimmy Palmiotti, and we're going to start it off on Previews World. As always, you can follow along and see all the comics on Final Order Cutoff by going between previewsworld.com/finalordersdue, where you're going to see wonderful publishers like Image, Marvel, Dark Horse, Boom, etc. But if you want to check out your DC titles, you're going to want to go to lunardistribution.com, and we'll follow along there. We're going to talk about some of the hotter items, the beautiful covers, big storylines, and new number ones that are on FOC this week. And you can join along with me on Previews World as we start off. As you guys can see, this is the February 3rd FOC, and we're going to start off with Image Comics. Big one, Department of Truth starts with a new story arc. This is going to be a great jumping on point if you have not already driven in here, because we're going to get the true origin of the Department of Truth in a very interesting interview with a vampire style story. We also get the trade paperback for Domain, the spin-off of Public Domain from Chip Zdarsky, and a lot of other wonderful continuing ones. One I always want to point out is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. This is the classic G.I. Joe line that has been going on since the 1980s at Marvel. It continued on at IDW and now has new life and 314 issues at Image Comics Skybound, with Larry Hama still doing this. It does not tie into the Energon universe where the normal G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Void Rivals titles are. But it's still a really, really fun one, especially if you have that old nostalgia where you want the classic G.I. Joe. I mean, Kyle, my wonderful co-host, where do you land? Are you G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, or G.I. Joe, Energon universe?
I'm G.I. Joe, Saturday morning cartoon.
Ah, okay.
Knowing is half the battle.
I mean, for me personally, I will always love, what was it, those late 90s, early 2000 internet ones of the...
yeah.
There it is.
I'll be honest. I didn't read a ton of the Larry Hama stuff until I was much older, but I loved the cartoon show. And I loved the action figures. So the more we can lean into that with G.I. Joe content, the happier Kyle is.
Yeah.
But I will say this, the Energon Universe stuff has been just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, Robert Kirkman, clearly a huge fan of all of those properties, really has put together some amazing teams to work on them with him. Joshua Williamson, Daniel Warren Johnson, beyond brilliant writers, a bevy of talented artists. It is fun stuff. But unfortunately, the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero is not part of that, but you can still get all those fun, because that's where you're going to find your classic characters like Don Marino and Snake Eyes, and many characters that have not yet been introduced to the Energon universe. Continuing on, if you want an out there book, Holy Roller is hitting trade paperback. Holy Roller is Andy Samberg. Yes, Andy Samberg of SNL and Lonely Island fame, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Putting together a very, very unique vigilante. Our protagonist is a bowling vigilante.
The son of a professional bowler.
Yes.
Becomes a vigilante after going off on a cruise, but he's supposed to be on a charity cruise, but he's goof off. Comes home and finds that his hometown is crazy racist and stuff against him and his dad, and decides the bowling ball is the weapon. I've been telling people it's Punisher meets Kingpin.
Ooh, yeah, that is a solid one. Yeah, I mean, plus any comic where you're punching a neo-Nazi, you're reading the right book.
Mm-hmm.
From Captain America to Holy Roller, it is a wide range of comic history right there.
Well, and I will say this, there's a character in there that I don't talk enough about that I think is wildly underrated, which is his version of Q, or his version of Ned from Spider-Man, where it's his tech guy, his guy who helps him embed spikes in his bowling ball and builds him a super suit, and maybe it's his Lucius Fox, but it's a very, very fun story.
So lots of fun ones at Image, including the continuation of Hornsby and Halo. Peter Tomasi just doing a great heaven and hell style New God story for all ages. One I'm really excited to see is the return of Monstrous. Monstrous 55 starts the new story arc after a nice gap. Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, two of the greatest women in comics, continuing this epic story that is coming up on a decade of publishing. That is crazy to think that we are coming up on a decade of Monstrous. But if you have not read this story, you can easily enter into it with very affordable trade paperbacks from your local comic shop. I highly recommend it. But this tale just is
epic on another level. It is so engrossing, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. I mean, it is a question of like how much longer it will go, but I love that we have such a powerful comic that is still continuing in an era that just is filled with mini series that wrap up after 4, 5, or 6 issues. That we are 55 issues deep and no sign of slowing on Monstrous. And that really beautiful Department of Truth cover by Martin Simmons, I just had to show off really quick for the new story arc. Speaking of new story arcs, let's just go right back to it. Radiant Black 31. It's back. We had an insane epic of roughly a dozen issues for the Catalyst War, giving us 2 different tales of different dimensions over the same big battle. But now we are back. Marshall Ward is the only Radiant Black. We're not getting 2 different universes. And this will be a perfect jumping on point for new fans that want to discover the supermassive universe, or longtime fans who've been reading things like Rogue Sun, any of the various Radiant books, Radiant Black, Radiant Pink, Radiant Red. This is the place to dive back in. Kyle Higgins has been really building this universe. It looks like we've already had a podcast that ties into it in the way of No One, and it looks like a film or TV show is on the way. We've seen animation. If you're not checking out Radiant Black, if you've ever been a fan of like Sentai or Iron Man-esque heroes, this is a must read, and I think this is going to be an awesome way to, once again, dive in new or continue on strong for longtime fans. I also love this new side border with the massive verse line underneath the Image logo. All right. I also want to point out Seasons is continuing. That was a very interesting first issue. I'm really curious what people thought, because it's not what I was expecting going into a Rick Remender new book, but it captured my attention. It felt very European, and I'm excited to see the second issue. So this is definitely one where I feel we won't be alone on this. Reach out to your local comic shop and let them know if you want Seasons issue 2. Because sometimes it's hard to judge orders. Comic shop owners have a hard time with this stuff now. It's why Final Order Cutoff is so important, because as economically we might need to be spending a little bit tighter, it's harder to take risk on new books that you don't know you're going to guaranteedly sell. It is always great when you can help alleviate your local comic shop stress by telling the manager, the store owner, whoever's ordering it, these are the books I want. These are the books I'm enjoying, and I'm looking forward to these new issues, because it makes the stores breathe a little bit easier knowing this is something people want. This is what we need to order. We're not going to, end up stuck with long boxes of this unsold property 10 years from now. Spawn Scorch also continuing on, as the team is back together to take on a brand new, bigger threat. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but if I'm going to talk Spawn right now, I want to talk about Spawn Violator. This is a classic 90s miniseries, but at the time, I don't think any of us had the understanding of how big this was. A 3-issue miniseries tying into Spawn, written by Alan Moore himself, with interior artwork by Greg Capullo and Bart Sears. Bart Sears did that beautiful cover for the trade. You're only paying $10 for the entire miniseries of Alan Moore, Greg Capullo, and Bart Sears. That is just crazy. Could you think of a bigger team, Kyle?
Not that's worked on Spawn, certainly, but you find yourself hard pressed to find a bigger group of names on any comic, especially that started in that era.
Yeah, they were big figures. Let us not, diminish where they were in the 90s. Alan, had done Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and so many other things. Bart Sears definitely was making a very strong name for himself. Greg Capullo was in his earlier days, but still just a brilliant artist. But you look at all 3 of those figures now, and they are all legends. So a $10 trade paperback with one of the probably most important villains in Spawn. Can't go wrong.
It's true.
Now we're going to kick it over to Boom Studios. Remember, Boom Studios, you're still doing FOC. If you're a retailer, you're still doing FOC at Boom at Diamond for at least another few weeks. It'll be midway through February that you will have the options of Diamond or Penguin Random House. But for the rest of you guys, let's just talk about some fun books. And we're going to start off with Hello Darkness. Hello Darkness is the great horror anthology from Boom. It is kicking butt. It is up there with the various EC horror anthologies I am loving. And take a look at that dark Jenny Frisson cover. Not to mention the all-star cast. Garth Ennis is wrapping up his story, The War, with Becky Cloonan in this issue. It has been an insane 8-issue build, but you're also getting the fourth part in James Tynion and Werther Deladera's continuation of a Something is Killing the Children prequel story, where Erica Slaughter is developing the lead up to that opening arc. Then on top of that, you're going to get amazing other creators like Marguerite Bennett, Robert Hack, Jordan Thomas, Luana Vecchio. Like, this is no punches pulled, amazing A-list comic horror. If you want horror and sequential art, these books are incredible. Whether you're continuing it issue after issue to read things like The War, or next issue, we're going to get a R.L. Stine continuing story. Or if you're just going after those little one-shot standalone pieces of art or short stories that the other creators provide, Hello Darkness, bang for your buck, is top tier. Have you read any of Hello Darkness yet, Kyle?
Oh, sure. I've been reading it for review every time it comes out. I will say this that's what I was going to get to. I feel like some of the Tynion stuff maybe should be left out and put into its own book. It's a hard thing to do a Tynion lift in 8 pages. Like, he doesn't.
It's not sequential. It is definitely spread out from issue to issue.
Right. So this idea of having some of these things that I think could probably be their own miniseries or their own books put into this anthology, I get the business side of it, but it makes the readership side hard. Mm-hmm. And so that to me is kind of the hard part about this book, but the art on the covers has been great, and overall the stories have just been so good.
So on the note of the art of the covers, one I always have to point out because I love this fact and I don't think everyone catches it. The A covers by Mercado, if you've noticed, every single cover has a slight theme. Aside from the obvious female host we have for the Hello Darkness, it's always a moment before darkness sets in, before the lights are about to go out. And I love that little subtle hint in each of these, trying to figure out where the lights are leaving from each of these covers. Just really, really cool thing that, they don't bluntly put it in front of you. They don't have to say it, but once you realize it, you can't help but track it down.
Right. And you look at like that cover we were just looking at. That's just before you close your eyes because the dentist is going to pull your tooth.
Yep. Yeah, I got the fingers on the, the little pull tab for the dental light. Everything from the, they've had the lighthouse one. They've had a torch going into water. So many really great subtle ones. So I don't know directly how much Miguel works with his editor to plot those out. If the editor's guiding him, or if Miguel is just a complete genius. Probably a mixture of both, but fun stuff. Speaking of great covers at Boom, Jim Henson's The Labyrinth continues on. This is an adaptation of the novel of The Labyrinth, but obviously with all of that style and artwork of the film. So you're getting additional scenes that were in the novel but not in the movie. Some great, great covers on Labyrinth. I will always love the ball scene, especially as somebody who attends the Labyrinth of Jareth in Orange County every year. Those are always great, and Elizabeth Tork just doing a beautiful, beautiful job with that. So a lot of fun from Boom. Let's take the deep breath, though. It's Marvel time. Big, big Marvel week. A lot of crazy things to expect here. One of the first ones is the Agent Venom Omnibus. This is something that people have been demanding. Agent Venom is perhaps outside of Michelin and McFarlane's run on Venom, one of the most demanded Venom stories of recent times, as you get Flash Thompson as Venom in space. doing stuff with the Guardians of the Galaxy, working as an agent in the United States, fighting the very demons of hell. And you're going to get all of this in one big hardcover binding for $125. I have the direct market exclusive cover that Mike Deodato Jr. did on screen right now. So the cool thing on that is, well, you can get this anywhere. This specific cover, you're going to have to go to your local comic shop for. And that is always awesome whenever they offer these direct market covers. They tend to be the ones to sell out. They do not get reprinted if the reprints, happen. So cool way to get this already awesome book and a great cover. And another cool thing, if you're looking forward to in 2 weeks seeing the Red Hulk on the big screen, Red Hulk teamed up with Agent Venom for a large story arc in here. So
just an example of how ubiquitous Agent Venom was. When I had my shop, we sold Venom energy drinks, and the distributor came in and we were talking about it, and they go, "Do you have Agent Venom?" And so they bought a copy of the trade paperback of this, but then they bought an Agent Venom statue to put on top of the Venom drink cooler to be so that there was a cohesive Venom display in the store. And then it was, well, do you know Rick Remender? Like, do you think you do a signing for the launch? I'm like, no, but I know Ryan Stegman. And so that was how we launched Venom Energy in our store. But like, even this dude who just sells soda for a living knew Agent Venom.
Yeah. It is a really crazy one, like I actually feel we're in an era now where I hear Flash Thompson as Venom as much as Eddie Brock, which is weird because you'd think like Mac Gargan's run or, even Eddie's son, would be brought up more often. But, for the brief period of time Flash Thompson was Venom, it really had a lasting effect. And the cool thing is you're getting all of that. You're getting, the Amazing Spider-Man story where he started as Agent Venom. You're going to be getting the whole 42-issue Rick Remender and Cullen Bunn Venom run. You're getting all of Venom's Space Knight. You're going to get the various crossovers with X-23 and the Hulk, and the Carnage crossovers of Minimum Carnage. So a lot of books. I mean, that's, my God, I can't even do the math. That's got to be over 60 comics in that omnibus. That is going to be a thick omnibus. But yeah, really fun. There is also a a very beautiful third printing of Aliens versus Avengers on there. You can't see the cover. For some reason, I think with the issues that are happening at Diamond, they're not as quick to getting the cover uploads. And you have to remember, as me and Kyle have said before, Final Order Cutoff finalizes everything at the same time we go live. So sometimes we're doing quick updates where we have to put things together within seconds of starting or even mid-show. So there are covers now for a lot of these Marvel covers. You're seeing the Image coming soon. If you would like to see them, the main Marvel distributor is PRH. And you can go to PRH Comics. It is not the best website, let's be 100% honest, but prhcomics.com, right on the front page, you can click Final Order Cutoff or comics that are finalizing orders this Monday, and you can see some of these covers that are not always depicted on Previews World. One of the big things, though, I will always state, as I know we're in an era where everyone's talking about Diamond and what's going to happen, this is one of those values of Diamond. You might hear people complain about it, but Diamond is very, very important in a lot of ways in providing things like Previews World, which gives us one website to see all of these amazing comics that are coming out each week that are on Final Order Cutoff, to track down information on old books, variants, etc. So let's actually pause Marvel here. We'll come back and talk about Doctor Strange in a moment. But we have a special guest, so we're going to do a quick break, and then we will be bringing on the always amazing Jimmy Palmiotti.
You went to break before I was ready, buddy. Here we go.
There.
Sure, comic books are beautiful, but underneath, there's something more authentic and exciting. The original art. See the pencils, the lines, the shading, as if you were there in the studio watching the artist work. Getting a peek at comics' backstage is easy with the original art experience.
All right, Friday night, guys. Thank you for being here. To be doing anything, the fact that you're here means the world to me.
Nick's pieces are always value priced with your budget in mind, for the beginning collector to the veteran.
And this is gorgeous. You got Aquaman and Mira.
Join the original art experience with Nick and our friendly crew of regulars, even if it's just to enjoy the art. Fridays at 7. It's all part of the experience. FOC, a comic industry term for the final day a new comic can be ordered by a local comic shop. So, what does that mean to you? Well, it's your last chance to order a new comic book from your local comic shop. Order Up, the FOC show will go over every book that's about to be cut off every Friday afternoon.
I'm going to highlight some of the stuff that I think is really worth paying attention to,
so that you can put in an order at your LCS for as many copies or as many variant covers as you want.
Sometimes the store needs to know to up their orders.
Never miss out on a popular comic again. Order Up, part of the experience.
I had to turn my camera on because this segment brought to you by the fizziest soda I have in my house. Fago. Ladies and gentlemen, the first week we did this show, Mathias and I talked about this book as he tries to get his camera to focus because he's going to be that guy today. The creator we're going to bring on right now is one of my all-time favorites. I was going through a long box yesterday, and I pulled out 20 issues of Painkiller Jane just to get excited for today. So I didn't realize we needed a comic book about the last line of "We didn't start the fire." But sure enough, if anybody can write it, it's Jimmy Palmiotti, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Thank you for being here.
All right. It's my pleasure, man. It's a nice break for a Friday. I'm just sitting here working away in my my messy studio, and happy to be here.
So there's a lot. You have two big books that are on FOC either this week or coming soon that we want to talk about.
Okay.
But I have a question before we get into anything else. When can I get more Painkiller Jane, please?
So I my next Kickstarter, which starts in 3 weeks, is Painkiller Jane GI Zombie. So it's I'm doing a Marvel 2-in-1 type thing. So that's gonna be sooner than you're gonna empty out your wallet pretty soon, Kyle. It's funny you ask, but it's 3 weeks. I'm coloring the books, right? And it takes me, I gotta be honest, it takes me forever to color because I am not a professional colorist. Although I think my color choices are pretty good. But I'm doing it on my iPad, and trying to I'm a bit of a control freak. If I can pencil, ink, draw, color it, letter it, I would. But I don't have all those talents. But I have some of them. So this one is one I've been working on with Juan Santa Cruz for I'd say the past year. I'm almost done. I don't like to do a Kickstarter until I'm done with the actual books. And I'm almost done with the books, and I'm still waiting on one more cover. But when you see the cover for the first, it's 2 issues. So the Kickstarter is issue 1 and 2. It's a full story. Much better, Matthias. You're still a little. There you go. So when you see the
God, was
cover,
everyone watching me do that?
what's that?
No, you were backstage.
Okay.
Oh, no, you came. You like faded in like a magic being, and then you focused. Anyway, so that starts in a few weeks, but until then, we're here to talk about some craziness of mine and Dave Johnson's, I guess.
It's true though, because like, we put together this little, so everybody knows you from Harley Quinn,
right?
And I already talked about Painkiller Jane.
Love
I
it.
did not know that this was coming until Matthias sent me the cover.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
good.
He's got Matthias has the Todd McFarlane one. That's one of the chase codes. Yeah, I'm on it. I'm writing right now. I'm writing issue 12 of that. Right. So how Todd McFarlane likes to do it, Deadly Tales. He told me, he says, "Look, we're going to start this like a year early. You just keep writing. Patrick will keep drawing, and so when it comes out, we'll never have a late issue." So we've been working on it for over a year. And so much that, the first issue, I had to give Todd the bad news. I said, "Look, I need like 38 pages to tell this story." And, Todd does what Todd does. His comics is still $2.99, which is like crazy. And he does what the big companies can't do. And he added like another 18 or something pages, and he only added on $1 for the first issue. But number 2 is right back to $2.99. Yeah, that just came out this past week. I think number 2 came out, and it's funny when you work on it for a while and then they start coming out real quick.
Yeah, in fact, number 3, if anybody wants to reach out to their store to make sure they're going to get it, it just finalized orders last week on January 27th, and it releases February 19th. So make sure you reach out to your local comic shop and tell them you need the Deadly Tales of Gunslinger.
Well, you guys will get a kick out of this. So I ordered I ordered from my local comic shop 100 of number 1, right? Because I do cons and I bring them, and I like to have my own copies to sell, and my comic shop sold out of number 1. So they came back and said, "Hey, can you lend us like 20 and we'll order it?" And then it became 25, and then it's like, get out of my box already, you guys. But issue 2 came out, and they said, we need some more number 1s because some people didn't get number 1, but they bought number 2 and they want number 1. And I'm just like, it's a good problem, but I'd rather everybody get the books, because we're in the business of publishing, where other people are in the business of collecting. We want to make sure we get as many people hooked, but I'm really happy with the reception I'm getting on this. It's a hardcore Western. It's mean. And it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun to be doing. Yeah,
it is absolutely brilliant. And then I really quickly, before diving into it, want to point out that is the perfect example of why you always want to reach out to your local comic shop and let them know, so you're not trying to grab the issue afterwards, and unable to, and stealing from the creator himself's copies.
Yeah.
This is the problem I had. Like, I missed this on my FOC list for issue 1. And then I see issue 2, and I'm going, well, I missed issue 1. So now I got to try and get my LCS to order issue 1s, which are not easy to come by at this point. And I may be jumping in on issue 2 and then trying to figure out what's going on by issue 3, which, again, not a bad problem to have, but is a problem for completionists.
For someone like me, I want you to get the whole story, and I want to be able to. It's the thing that drives me crazy about comic stores once in a while is that they underorder sometimes the number 1s, and my favorite store will always be the one I go in and I see number 2 or 3, and in the back of them they have a copy of issue 1, so I can go, oh, okay, 1, 2, and 3. And especially for it's a Spawn title, it's an ongoing Spawn title. So like Todd wrangled me for at least a couple of years on this, so I'm not going anywhere. And with the promise of, if it does well, we're going to keep going. So it's ongoing. So those number 1s are going to get a little tougher down the line because there's some stuff that happens later in the book that people are going to want to pick up. And, my job is to get people excited for it and wanting the next issue really badly. That's my job, right? give you a cliffhanger that you like screaming, like, why isn't this out in a week or two? That's also my favorite job. But I really am proud with the book. Patrick Reynolds kicked ass, and the covers have been beautiful. And this cover is a little tough to find. My comic store sold out of this one right away.
It's the Mark Spears. Hottest cover artist going right now.
Yeah, my store had ordered a ton of them. They still have a couple of the regular cover, but that one flew out really quick. They had to limit what people would, because people were buying them like a stack of them, and the store is like, you keep it down to 2 because we have to make sure everybody gets them, that kind of thing. Again, good problems. I'm hoping people really get into this book because it's the first ongoing I've done in a while, probably since Harley. It's the first ongoing I've taken on. I've been offered a lot, but I never take on work I feel isn't right for me. So I do turn down stuff that's just not, it just doesn't sound right for me. Or I can't find an angle to it I have any interest in. So I'd rather not do it. I'd rather somebody that really loves a character to do it than me kind of just be filler for somebody's comic box. If that makes any sense.
That is probably why you're such a great writer on everything you work on. So let's dive a little bit in before we talk about your other new series on FOC. Deadly Tales of Gunslinger starts out with the origin of the Gunslinger Spawn. And as it's ongoing, which is actually, I hate to say, news to me, is this going to stay perpetually in the 1800s, or are we going to get modern Spawn stories?
So as long as we have Todd McFarlane doing the modern stories, I'm not going anywhere near it. This is going to stay in the past, and it's right after the Civil War. So much so, when I took on the book, I wrote a 24-page Bible for it, basically about who he is, where he came from, his parents and his grandparents. So I have that history thing. And if you read the first issue, there's a 2-page thing with some flashbacks, and it's all pre-worked out story that later on in the book you're going to start to see how it comes together. And the first issue I took some what Todd did in the regular book. He did this like little piece of an quick origin, and I blew it up into 30-something pages. And that's what this first issue is. Again, there's mystery around it. There's mystery around the character. And this is Gunslinger at his weakest. This is him first becoming a gunslinger and not having all the powers that he has in the Todd book, because that happens later on in his life. So this is set in the past. There's a set of supporting characters that become part of the book, and a couple of new characters in the Spawn universe. And again, Todd told me, he says, I want this grounded, man. I want you to write this like it really happened. Like you're almost documenting what's happening to him. So it's not as surreal or fantastic as, let's say, Todd's book. It's more real Western, but it does have its crazy moments where we start to see the other parts of the Spawn universe that happened in the past. So hopefully it's everything everybody wanted with the character. We'll find out.
Well, and this is also hardly your first rodeo when it comes to Westerns. You have a long history of writing some incredible Westerns. Is that when you look at this from a writing perspective at your core, is this a Spawn book or a Western for you?
It's a Western Spawn book. I can't even say it's one or the other, because there are supernatural elements. Obviously, this whole Spawn thing is about supernatural and otherworldly stuff, but I try to treat it from the perspective of you and I are seeing this, and what the hell we're like, what? What's going on? And this character is so grounded. The minute in the origin in the first issue when he becomes the gunslinger, that he makes it that he's told, once you're seeing through those eyes, the world looks different to you from now on. Like he can't go back to being that regular guy, and obviously wearing that clothing is definitely. There's a lot of people commenting that he looks like he's in the circus. They don't understand the guy coming into town wearing that, and that's part of my fun thing. Is like, that's not normal to wear in the Old West. You're wearing that, people get, what are you? And there's an ongoing joke to the thing. People guessing what he is. They think he's with the circus. They think he's, all these crazy things. Because I'm really trying to keep him in a grounded world. And I think because of that, and because of the slow gaining of his powers, I think people are going to find it an interesting book. This is not a guy that wins every battle. This is a guy that tries to survive, and as best he can, and trying to figure out the world around him. So I think that approach right away is a little more unique to the character, where Todd's book is this really, Todd book feels like T2 to me in a way. It's like so on and so going so quick, and it's so much story. This is like the beginning of the Gunslinger. It could have been called the beginning of the Gunslinger, but the Deadly Tales part of it is because once in a while our artist is going to need a break because he's working so hard, and we'll be able to stick a story or two in the series that are another story about him. Even though it's all in continuity, we're leaving it open for us telling different stories of the same character that don't have to be so tethered to continuity, even though at this point 1 through 12 is all continuity. So even though it seems like different stories, it's always, I think by issue 12 it's probably like 2 weeks had passed in this guy's life, and yeah, and it's the craziest 2 weeks you've ever seen. I mean, it's he goes through everything. Issue 3 has a scene. And there's a couple of things like issue 2. If you guys haven't seen it, I didn't know that I could have nudity in the book, and the artist drew a girl topless, and then I saw it in print. I'm like, that's how I just learned. I'm like, oh, I guess we can do that in this comic. Like, there's stuff I didn't know that I learned. That I thought they were just going to cover it with a word balloon or something. I'm so used to DC and Marvel with them covering everything with word balloons. So I was kind of pleased to see it. And the third issue has a scene that you'll laugh out loud when you see it, because it's like so mean. Like I'm like, I felt bad when I did it, but it's so mean. But that's the fun of writing this character, because everything is brand new with it.
I have 2 questions I want to ask real fast before we move on to Bob Gill.
Sure.
The first one is, you said you wrote a Bible.
Yes.
Something that's been going around on social media recently is Denny O'Neil's Batman Bible.
Right.
And people are loving this. Do you write a lot of Bibles for characters? Does it help you? Do you follow them? Or do you just kind of, depending on the situation, use one or not?
Well, so with something like Gunslinger, because Todd had only a certain amount of the past worked out, I had to sit with them and say, all right, so who is he? Where does he come from? What was before him? Where's he going? How does he get there? So it helped me to write a Bible about this person. And then I said, okay, based on that and based on history, his parents come from Chicago, and then where his grandparents come from Europe. Obviously, they came up, if you do the timing of the United States and history. So the Bible helps me, because then I write the Bible, I read it, so I know his whole life. So if something comes up, like we know in the new books that he can't read. Okay, he can't read. And in our story, I have to acknowledge that like, okay, somewhere in his past, something's not computing, because his sister can, and his sister's very smart. And it's just a matter of dyslexia, and how it was treated back then. People just said, I can't read, and they didn't understand why. Like we of course deciphered it and we figured it out. But in the 1800s, it was called other things. And so there's little details like that help me keep the continuity of the character. And it's extremely important. But I don't do it for other things. Like with Harley, all I knew is when we took it on, I talked to Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, and they said she's born in Brooklyn, Canarsie, Brooklyn. She has a mom, she has brothers and sisters, a dad. This is what her dad does. And that's pretty much it until we see Harley in the animated show where she's the doctor at Arkham and she comes in. So between that and then we take her on, and the first thing I do, of course, is get her out of Gotham, because I said, let me bring her back to where she grew up, which was Brooklyn. But I decided rather than Canarsie, which I'd have to explain to a million people what Canarsie is, we put her in Coney Island because it makes complete sense. She would be somewhere where there's a circus and there's an amusement park and the whole thing. So that happens. With Jane, of course, when I create a character, I write a Bible for it. So I know where everybody is and who everybody is. And also, if somebody else writing it, I can give them the Bible so they can reference it and they don't write the character off. because nothing comic people hate more than when somebody comes onto a new character and changes everything. Like, let's say Power Girl, where we establish everything, and then now the new series they just change her name, they change her cat. I think a lot of people don't understand how comic book people are such continuity freaks. We live and die for that, man. We want our characters to stay true to who they are and how they were established. So I don't do it all the time, but for a book like this, I felt it was needed.
So the other question I have for you, and then I'm gonna let Mathias take over, and we'll talk about Pop Kill. Is
okay.
Todd McFarlane, Joe Quesada.
Okay.
Compare and contrast for me. Like I love everything both dudes have ever done. No, like what's it like working with those guys? Like because they're both such larger than life characters in our business and in our industry, and have created such iconic characters.
So
and you've been with them so much.
Joe is a close friend. I look at him as he and I are the same. I look at him like he did what I did. I did what he did. He's a great artist. And let me explain Todd first. Then. So Todd for me is the guy that went and did his own comic, bought a bunch of baseballs, created a hit comic, created a hit universe, made toys better than anybody else. I mean, he is like, he's like this bigger than life figure for me. Also a guy I know, and when I see him, we talk and have a good time. But he feels like a boss to me, like he's when I talk to him, I'm working for him, and he's the boss. And when he gives me a note, I listen. I sit there and he's also, he's off doing a million things. He's a very famous person to me in my life. Tom McFarlane's one of the most famous. I mean, after Stan Lee, I think to me he's one of the biggest creators in the industry. The other Image guys, Savage Dragon, he stuck with his book. But Jim went over to DC, and a lot of the guys did other things. Todd stuck with his universe and made it bigger and got talented people to work on it. He created an empire, had a film, has the toys, has the chops, sits at cons, talks to everybody. He's like to me he's like a Stan Lee figure, right? I consider myself happy to be his friend and lucky. But when we go to Joe and I worked at the same time. We grew up together, working together. And so I look at him as like he's my buddy that does the same thing I do. We have so much history. Oh my God. It's, between Marvel Knights and Event Comics and Ash and Painkiller Jane. He's a buddy. I talk to him every couple of days. Right now I have to be careful. He's overseas, so I can't call him because I'm going to wake him up. But, he and I still talk. We still share Painkiller Jane and Ash together. And he's an amazing artist. I mean, if anything I got to say about Joe, I wish he would draw more. I
think we can all agree on that one.
He made a great editor-in-chief, but I'm a person that would have rather had 50 more books from him. Editor-in-chief to me, I get it when, an artist or somebody becomes editor-in-chief and it's great. But when you draw like that, I mean, at the end of the day, I look at guys, the artists I love, all I want is more from them. I want more books. And I think everything in between. I remember a real quick aside, like Darwin Cook is a really close friend of mine. And when he was doing all the Parker novels, I kept telling him, I can't wait till you're done with this. And because he had all these ideas and he kept doing them. And I kept telling him, you didn't create this. Why? Stop doing this. Like, you got all these creations you want to do, and you keep spending more time on somebody else's thing. And unfortunately, we lost him. He passed away from lung cancer. But I remember all the ideas he had, all these great book ideas. He never got to do them. So I have a greedy part of me that wants the artist guys to draw. And I want Todd to draw more too. If I be honest with you, I want a monthly Todd book again. But that's me, and I'm a comic art collector. So, that's the comic art collector talking.
I think we can all agree on that stuff. So thank you so much. Mathias, Ned.
Yeah. No, on that note, actually, before we dive into Pop Kill, you do have a really cool Quesada piece coming out. They are reprinting your Exo Man Award #0.
Yeah.
Is that exciting to see that back in print with a new coloring?
I like to think it's kind of cool that people never saw it, might pick it up. I'm not convinced anybody has not seen that book. I mean, they printed 2.2 million of them, and I tell Amanda all the time. I said anybody that has a book of this that's not signed by now has got to be worth money, because I think I signed 2 million of them. That said, I found out online they were doing that. I read about it, and then the person got in touch with me and said, "Hey, yeah, no, we're reprinting it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, make sure I get a couple." But I think sometimes I see that, and I'm always thinking if that opens up a new audience to people maybe checking out the books or checking out our work. I mean, that was a long time ago, that Exo Zero. That's like Matthias. I don't know how old you are, but it might have been like when you were like 12 that came out.
Not entirely far off, actually.
Yeah. So, I look at stuff like that, and a lot of times I look at it like, oh, I want to fix that arm on that, or I want to go in and tweak that like ridiculousness, right? I want to go in and fix it. But I think there's a whole section in the stores now of facsimile editions. I mean, it's like a big thing. It's a great way for comic fans to get the books that are really expensive cheap and read them. But I never thought it'd be that big. Like, they have a whole section that's all facsimile. So I think that's kind of like it's kind of cool that it's happening, and I'm glad the XO is out there. Hopefully people order it and give it a shot. It's not from Valiant, is it? It's from another company?
It's actually Valiant now licenses out through Alien Publishing.
Okay.
Cool way of continuing it on. They still have some former Valiant Entertainment employees.
Cool. You think they're going to do new things over there? You're going to do new characters?
Fred Van Lente just rebooted the whole universe in a huge, beautiful way.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. Maybe we'll do some more Ninjak.
Yeah. So hopefully, I'd be all for that.
The old Valiant pitched me. They said, "Can you come up with a female Ninjak type character?" And I said, "Yeah. How much of it do I own?" And they said, "None." And I said, "Yeah, no." I was like, "No." The old guys that were doing it. So I was like, "No."
Well, on that note, let's talk about things you own.
Okay.
Popkill, I am excited. This was originally something you guys kickstarted, I want to say, back in 2020.
Yeah, we did. It was 3 Kickstarters. Like, there was one for issue 1, one for issue 2, and then the third Kickstarter was for 3 and 4 together. And we did very well with them. We sold. We were so happy with it that we had an Adam Hughes cover that kind of went insane.
Yeah, $600 value. It's insane.
Yeah, and what, honestly, like, Dave Johnson came up to me with the idea. He's like, how about a thing where we have competing soda companies, and then we have like the spies that work for them and everything. And I'm laughing. I'm like going, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But we've been trying to figure out something to work together on, and this was it. And we talked to Juan Santa Cruz, and he said he'd love to draw it. But it was like a crazy idea. And, we were both like, nobody's going to buy this because it's just bizarre. And it's, it's adult material. It's also like, it's just fun. It's a fun comic. And it's our like James Bond sideways tribute to James Bond and crazy and commercialism, But Dave had the idea. He says, well, let's make it like it's a real soda companies. And Dave designed the Popso and the Fizz One labels. And like he went all in and did this design work on it. And then when we did the Kickstarters, we were asking people, do any cover you want. Here's the book. And they all came back with girls drinking soda, and Amanda did some crazy ones. And we realized people saying, oh my God, it's so much fun. It's like such a, a breath of fresh air to read a comic book that's not really like, it's just not like trying to sell you a superhero or anything. And I said, no, it really is just 2 guys writing madness, and that has a beginning, middle, and end. And we did the Kickstarters, and they were a lot more successful than we thought they would be. But the reality, Matthias, on Kickstarters is, you're only selling for 2,000 people, So the book was, sitting there, and we met up with the we're talking to the people at Mad Cave in San Diego, and they said one of the people up there said, we love this book. Like, could we get the rights to reprint it? And I haven't really done that with one of my Kickstarters yet. And I was just like, okay, if we do that, a couple of things have to be changed. First off, you can't have any of the covers from the Kickstarter. And, that was like a big one, right? Because it was like, oh, well, we were hoping to get this and that. And I said, no. And so we both agreed that it does have a pug in it. So there you go. Now we just emptied your wallet out. But anyway, so we just got new artists to do the covers. Like, we just said, all right, let's just get new covers. And yeah, that one is crazy. I mean, thank God that blue bar is there, because it is cold in that girl's room. That's all I got to say when you see it.
Sodas are meant to be cold.
Yes, that's right. This one is Brian Stelfreeze. We said, do whatever you want. This one comes in a black bag. So when you guys get it, it's actually in a black plastic bag. And I think it's a limited variant or something. I know these are all crazy covers, but that one is definitely not for the kids, and it's Brian doing what he does best. And again, kudos to the design and this universe has a sense of itself. And this is just two artists, two writers kind of having some fun. And I'm so excited. People are going to be able to walk in a comic shop now and get the books, because I just feel like it's a little bit of fresh air. There's Dan Panosian, of course, going super, super realistic with that. Yeah, what a cover. Somebody today told me they said, I just ordered the Dan Panosian one. I'm like, yeah. I said, the great news is whenever I'm doing a signing, usually Dan and Dave and those guys are there, and Brian. So it's kind of fun. But that's just beautiful. I mean, the guy, he's an amazing artist, and I watch him do coloring live. I sit with him, and I'm just trying to learn everything I can on him, because look at the light reflections on the lips, the bottle itself. The guy's getting better and better.
It's crazy that he has decades in this industry, and I feel we're at a golden age of Dan Panosian right now. This last 2 years for him have been a whole other level.
He's always drawn, right? So he's always inked and he's always penciled stuff. But it definitely is like I've seen in a year, he was drawing every day, because we talk all the time. And his artwork, he just kept trying to push for what he wanted to see more and more. And his Photoshop skills have always been amazing. But what he's doing now, he learned the textures and everything. It's just so much fun to watch him grow. And I don't think he's done yet. Like, I really think another year from now, we're going to see a whole nother monster come out of him. But he does remind me of, and in the nicest way, he has a Mort Drugger Jack Davis sense to him. Not in this cover, but on his other stuff, it has this kind of bounce and liveliness to it that I can't explain. But we're doing a book together I can't talk about. That's a 4-issue series that he's drawing the interiors. That just wait till you see it. But I can't even tease it right now. But anyway, beautiful cover from Dan.
Okay.
Number one.
So let's dive in. For anybody who is right now just under the impression this is all pugs and soda pop, what is the quick pitch on Pop Kill, so everyone knows they need to go to their local comic shop and order?
This is a book all about soda pop and pugs. No, I'm kidding. So there are it is about soda. So Pop Kill is basically, the setup is there's two huge, in Osaka, Japan, there's two giant competing soda companies, sort of like our Pepsi and Coke, except it's Fizz One and Popso, and these two companies are trying to outdo each other. Now they're owned by two brothers who at one point were connected, were Siamese twins, and they were connected and separated, and they don't like each other. And their buildings face each other, and they write notes on the windows to terrorize each other. They're real idiots. But anyway, what happens is we have the girl character who's holding the pug. That's Dina Deluxe. That's her name. And she is one of the scientists that develops in the chemical part of the soda company that develops things. And she figures out a way to create. She has an invention where she's able to extend the life of the fizz in soda. Now, it doesn't sound like much to us, but if we think about it, meaning soda, when you open your cap and and then you go, oh, this is flat soda. Her invention is the soda will not go flat for a long time, which is $1 billion idea. And the competing brother wants to get this formula. So he hires a spy called John Pyle. John's there with the gun in front of the pug. And John is sort of like probably James Bond, a little bit misogynistic, a little bit over the top, a cartoon version of James Bond where he's just oversexed to the point of exhaustion. And he's sent to get information to try to get the formula by the competing soda company. And it's 4 issues of madness with Dina and John trying to kind of like manipulate each other to get things. And of course, the brothers have issues with each other. It's set in Japan, which kind of makes sense to what we're doing in the visuals. And I will say the tone is James Bond comedy, sort of really dark comedy at some point, and just fun. And it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You will not sit there in the 4th issue and go, oh, I don't know, what happens next? Oh, they left me hanging. There is nothing left hanging. This is exactly the full story. Each issue is 32-page stories, so they're double issues, almost. They're extra page issues. So there's a decent page count to them. And I think the first one comes out in February, right? Am I right, Mathias?
Yeah. So right now it is on FOC this Monday, and issue 1 will release February 26th.
Yeah, I will say we're gonna see the Stealth Freeze cover sell out right away. That's gonna be the minute somebody opens it in the store, they're gonna be trying to grab the other ones, and I guarantee that one. I saw on some websites, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but I saw that Amanda Connor, my wife, did a cover, and that was sold out already.
It is going to be the 1-in-10 ratio variant. So for every A or B cover, which includes that beautiful Dave Johnson cover you order, stores are able to potentially order a 1-in-10. So if you are looking to get that at your local comic shop, reach out to your local comic shop in advance, see if they are going to qualify for it, and also what they might be charging, because each comic shop is going to be different on that.
Yeah, that one, so it's funny because somebody sent me the link that you can order it live from this comic shop, and he said that one sold out already. So I don't know how that works. I don't know how you sell it, but I guess he ordered a certain amount, and that's all he had for that amount, I guess. But and it's funny, I will say I've seen the covers for 2 and 3. They're insane. Especially issue 3. I can come back when issue 3 is ready to be ordered. We can talk about the one cover we're going to see that is by one of the most popular artists in the business. But I will say the inside of this book is gorgeous. Juan Santa Cruz just draws the hell out of it. It's beautifully colored. We have Brian Reber and Sean Keynote coloring the books. The production-wise on this, everything's beautiful. Mathias, did you get to see the inside of the book?
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I mean, just everything from the ridiculous devices our spy is using to, hack into the opposing pipelines.
Yeah.
To just every James Bond quality gal in the, in Laughter panel. It is amazing.
John does have a quite an entrance when we see, and I will say, so we can give away a little bit of that. I'm going to give away a little bit because I have a funny quick story that for your viewers only. There's a scene where somebody's sent to get John Pyle, and he lives up to the name Pyle, though it's spelled different, because they open the door and there's a pile of women on a bed, and she's looking for him, and he's underneath it, right? He's underneath the pile of women, and he comes out. It's the most misogynistic, stupid, over-the-top entrance ever. But I will say, when John Singleton, who's a buddy of mine, he's no longer with us, the movie director, was doing Shaft, I suggested that as the opening scene in Shaft, and in the movie, and he couldn't get it greenlit. Like, he loved the idea, but they wouldn't do it. And so I said, you know what? We're going to use that in this comic, because I said I had it with John. John laughed his ass off. He's like, "Oh my God, that's a great opening." I said, "Yeah," and we never used it, so I worked it. Nothing dies. No idea dies in this house. I kind of use it somewhere else, and that's where that scene is from. And yeah, we do have Mark Chiarello did a cover for issue 2, and Dave Johnson, and it's look, I think this book delivers on on a lot of levels. I think story wise, it's a lot of fun. I think cover wise, it's beautiful. I think the interiors are gorgeous. It has extra pages, and I can't wait to see what Man Cave does with the books. I like that their logo's small and in the corner, so it's not taking up too much art. I'm one of those guys that likes the art on the cover. I just want, and I like my names on the top of the cover. That's kind of cool, I don't know, but there's a lot to like. I'm just hoping people give it a shot. It's tough to do a new book in this business.
I mean, great. I mean, because it feels like even films years later were ripping off Pop Kill. I was joking with a customer the other day that if you like Jerry Seinfeld's Unfrosted, it's just G rip off of Pop Kill.
It's funny because I had like 15 people tell me that, and then I watched the movie and I said, Pop Kill's better. I said that movie like falls flat in some places. With all that talent involved, it felt a little contrived to me. I don't know why. And I love Pop-Tarts, so
because they hadn't invented some way to make sure the fizz didn't, go flat.
That's it. Or the if they figured out a way to make the jam and the Pop-Tart healthy, that would have been their big key. I love Pop-Tarts, so I can't pick on Pop-Tarts. But I know that they're not the healthiest things in the world for you, I will say.
I think that's literally the cause of my diabetes right there.
There you go.
All right. So this FOC's this Monday with the release February 26th. Some amazing covers. So reach out to your local comic shop and get them, especially that Stealth Freeze. That Stealth Freeze is going to be a little bit higher price. It is bagged. And let me tell you, we'll discuss at the end of the day when we're talking our top 10 how you can see the uncensored version of it. Because once you see that, as Jimmy put it, people are going to be grabbing handfuls of it at their shop.
Yeah, I like that they're going to be grabbing handfuls. That's all you got to say. That's going to be your quote for today. Use both hands to grab Pop Kill #1.
Yeah, absolutely amazing one. This is 4 issues. It'll be coming out monthly from Mad Cave, correct?
Yes, correct. Yep.
All right. And then hopefully we can get you back on to talk up that issue #3 cover later.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime you want to have me, I'm there. Always willing to promote the books because it's tough these days, right? We used to have Wizard magazine, remember that? And but there's nothing in print, and the most you can do is put an ad. But there's so many little independents. There's so many, Mad Cave, right? The company. Imagine being Mad Cave trying to do publicity. It's so hard, and my office is at a comic shop in Clearwater, Florida. It's called Emerald City Comics, and I look at the racks and I watch them order. There's so much stuff that people don't see. It's really everybody's fighting for that for your attention. So it's a great time for comics and a rough time for comics as well.
Absolutely. I mean, on that note of Mad Cave, something I have to point out: if you're one of the retailers watching who is ordering. This week, officially, you are going to have to place your order for Mad Cave Comics through Lunar Distribution. Diamond is no longer carrying Mad Cave Comics, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess until they figure out that Diamond stuff, it's a risk. I remember this is the history when we did Event Comics. Capital Comics went out of business, and they owed us a good amount of money. I mean, we never recovered from how much money we lost from Capital. So they have to protect themselves, and it's a way. They probably protected themselves by moving out to Luna. Hey, however you get it, I hope you get it. That's all.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom at the start of this year in a million different ways, but hopefully Diamond can be lucky enough to be recovered, or somebody can step in and save them, and we'll continue seeing distribution options for all these incredible indie publishers.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like one more thing to worry about. It's not enough with doing comics. We got to go worry about the distribution. So,
but that's all the more reason why you want to go to your local comic shop and pick up Pop Kill, because that is something you don't have to stress over. That is something that you can just escape. It is incredible escapism.
There you go. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jimmy. Again, reach out to your local comic shop to get these orders in on the Deadly Tales of Gunslinger and Popkill. And for anyone who wants to know more about Jimmy, where can we find you on social media as well as your website?
So it's my name. It's my name on Twitter. It's Jimmy Palmiotti. So there's only one of me, thank God. And same thing with Blue Sky and Instagram. And then I have a website called paperfilms.com. And if you go on that, a little pop-up happens and you subscribe. We said like maybe 2 emails a month telling you what Amanda and I have been up to, where we're going to be at, what shows we're doing. And we're always showing original artwork and, pushing stuff on it. We don't terrorize your mailbox, like I said. We only do it twice a month because I'm wonderfully lazy that way. But that's where you can reach me. Social media, gets tougher and tougher these days because it's more political and less comic art. I am a little political guy, so I try to mix them both together, and open up some conversations without being attacking people. But that's a whole balancing act in itself these days. We stick to the comics. This is Popkill is escapism at its best. There's no politics in here, just the politics of that crazy Osaka, Japan.
Really,
very well researched.
Are you a Pepso or are you a Fizz One buyer?
Well, so I am the guy that wants to invest in the soda company that Dina and John may create one day. That's where I'm at. Those two guys are crazy. Yeah, for the sequel, maybe. Yeah, who knows? But I will say this book has a definite end. If we do a sequel, it's going to be even crazier. That's all I have to say. I like to one-up everything. So, I'm a firm believer. If you're going to do part 2 of something, you better go a little crazier. But this delivers. I'm really proud of this book, and I hope everybody checks it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
All right, buddy. You take care.
All right, guys, we're going to rush through the remainder of Final Order Cutoff, and that requires us to go back to previewsworld.com/finalordersdue to look at Marvel. Marvel has some big ones this week, and we're going to start it off with Doctor Strange of Asgard. If you're not already aware, after Bloodhunt, Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. That role belongs to Doom. But Doctor Strange needs to be the Sorcerer Supreme. If he can't be the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, maybe he'll be the Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard. Awesome new series by Derek Landry. I am excited to go over. We also have a lot of other wonderful things, like the Fantastic Four facsimiles continue. As Jimmy was talking about it, we now have the 3rd issue. I'm hoping we just go through at least the first year of the 1960s Fantastic Four in facsimiles, but we're even getting a reprint of number 1 to get you guys ready for the film coming out later this year. Immortal Thor shows the first sign again of NetTease Marvel Rival variants. If you know anything about the Marvel Rival variants, they have been blowing up on the aftermarket. Well, you don't get to see the covers there. As I mentioned earlier, you can go to prhcomics.com to see them. There's the NetTease Rivals variants for Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu, and other covers that aren't fully uploaded to Previews World yet, like Peach Momoko's incredible kimono variants, where she takes some of the greatest females in the Marvel Universe and throws them into kimonos. All those are going to be super hot and brilliant covers that I think are going to get a lot of attention. Other covers I need to point out is across the X-Men line, we are going to be getting a new storyline called X-Manhunt. Not just X-Men Hunt, X-Manhunt. And Phil Noto is doing a bunch of connecting covers, doing the whole police lineup. Now, NYX is going to be part 2. Part 1 we will be talking about a little bit later in Uncanny X-Men. But I need to first discuss Scarlet Witch, because it turns out there is a schism between Scarlet Witch and her new protege, new champion character Amaranth. Amaranth, who made her first appearance in Scarlet Witch, is coming back as a bit of an antagonist, and I love this B cover by Corn Howell. So definitely worth keeping on your radar. There's also a bunch of wonderful Invisible Woman variants across the board. A lot of great ones at Marvel, so make sure you check out previewsworld.com/finalordersdue to see everything, or PRH Comics to see some of those hidden covers. as a huge fan of the original Marvel Comics hero from Marvel Comics #1, Namor. I love that Ultimates 10 is Namor versus Red Skull. That is some proper World War II battling in the Hickman era of the Ultimate Universe, and a beautiful Inhuck Lee cover there. But again, Uncanny X-Men, start of the X Manhunt. So Gail Simone is going to kick it off. This is going to be across the X books, a big crossover, the first post-Krakoan age crossover. So I've got a lot of excitement there. Speaking of crossovers, we're going to see a return to the Spider-Verse with Web of Spider-Verse New Blood as we cross over the Spider-Verse and the Venomverse. Finally, these two multiverses collide. Matt Groom and Greg Pak are going to introduce us to 3 brand new Spider characters. And you know how those first appearances always tend to get big deal. With the hopes of a continuation of more Spider-Verse films, maybe we'll see some of these characters make it to the big screen. And then on top of that, it's going to be that big splash together for all the fans of the Venomverse, for all the fans of the Spider-Verse. This is everything in one big epic. So a lot of great covers to check out on that. Finally, for you Disney fans, what if Mickey Mouse and his goofy amount of friends became the Avengers? Steve Belling is continuing the Disney 100. I guess we're in Disney 101 now with the 101st year of Mickey Mouse and Disney. Doing a what if one shot where our favorite Disney characters have become Avengers. A lot of great covers on that from everyone by Phil Noto, Chrissy Zullo. I mean, it is Art Adams. It is a crazy list. So a lot of fun at Marvel. Remember to check out PRH Comics if you want to see that. We're going to quickly go through Dynamite, which is continuing DuckTales, Powerpuff Girls, Thundercats, and Vampirella. The guys at Dynamite know how to put together some amazing covers. There's a lot you're going to want to check out at PRH Comics, but one I really want to point out is the fact that we're hitting a huge issue 675 of Vampirella. It is crazy to think that when you combine all the Vampirella comics and magazines over the last 60 plus years, we were at 675 issues of this unbelievable Draculon vampire. Love that Joseph Michael Linsner one. Christopher Priest back at it strong as we work our way up to issue 700. This will be a really, really cool one. I mean, you're a Vampirella fan, clearly, Kyle, right?
I like Red Sonja.
You're a Red Sonja girl or guy. Okay.
I am a Red Sonja girly.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I love all my femme fatales from Dynamite, whether it's Vampirella to Red Sonja, anything from Chaos, and of course, Deja Thoris holds my heart. So we're gonna rush through the comics and graphic novels so we can get to DC. A lot of great continuing series in the indie realm. I wish I had more time to focus on these today, but we had a great interview with Jimmy that totally makes up for it. You can see all of this at previewsworld.com/finalordersdue. Even with the troubles Diamond is facing, they're still going through the effort to make these awesome, awesome titles and information available to you. We talked up Kill Train a couple weeks ago. Kill Train #1 hit stands this week. If you didn't check it out, I highly recommend it and get your orders in for issue #2. That is once again now going to be over at Lunar Distribution if you're a retailer or ordering manager for your shop. A lot of wonderful manga coming out. Big one I want to point out though is Penthouse. Penthouse Comics. You might be thinking, wow, Penthouse, that's an adult magazine that is just, all sorts of naughty photos. Well, it can be, but the Penthouse Comics, you remember back in the 90s, helped bring a lot of major creators into some unbelievable and adult content that isn't always pornographic. It can just be mature and amazing stories. This is, in my opinion, until Heavy Metal comes back later this year, the new Heavy Metal magazine. It is not always sexual-based stories. It does often have mature stories. And it is great to see that we're relaunching with a brand new #1 in 2025. A lot of great covers on this. It's interesting to see Cameron Stewart back on a U.S. book. Beautiful cover there. But if you're looking for the new heavy metal while you're waiting for heavy metal, check out Penthouse Comics. A lot of really great stories, sci-fi stories, romance stories, horror stories with mature themes. I believe you haven't been checking out the new Penthouse Comics yet, Kyle. Are any of these things drawing attention to you?
I'll be honest, man, not really. It's one of those is that I'll wait for heavy metal and I'll lean into companies like Distillery for sort of the oddball stuff that I got used to get from them.
Yes.
So that's kind of the direction I'm going.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, and I am excited about the relaunch of heavy metal. But for those who don't want to wait, definitely something to keep in mind. Not all stores are going to stock it, so always reach out to your store to see if it's available or if they'll be able to get it in for you. Another big one, because your store is probably sold out of it, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Naruto. Yes, the big crossover between Kodansha, Masashi Kishimoto's Naruto, and of course Laird and Eastman over at IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The number one is getting a second printing finally on FOC this week with Jorge Corona doing the cover art. Unfortunately, not up yet on Previews World because, like I said, we do this live as they're finalizing it. Hopefully by later today, if you are not watching live, you will be able to see a cover. A lot of great ones on this week. But we're going to pop over to Lunar Distribution to see the various DC titles that are on FOC. If you haven't ever been there, you can go to lunardistribution.com. You will see a wonderful page like this. Scroll down a little bit to upcoming FOC. Make sure you're on the right date. This is Monday, February 3rd. And you can see all of the awesome comics that DC is putting out, amongst a lot of other ones. We're going to start seeing Image, Vault, Mad Cave, and more filling up this awesome FOC for Lunar Distribution. So first one we got to talk up, Absolute Wonder Woman. In my opinion, absolutely the best absolute title. I know a lot of people are going to stand hard on Superman or Batman, but it doesn't beat Kelly Thompson's Wonder Woman in my eyes. Several great covers available on that, as we also get a continuation of Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb, and we get all this brilliant new Tim Sale artwork that is posthumously being published. We're seeing things like Rochta Lynn, normally known for her 1 in 25s and ratio variants of DC, has an open order B cover on Black Canary, the best there is, with Tom King's brilliant writing. We have Tom Taylor on Detective Comics. Need I say more? One of the greatest writers, multi-Eisner Award-winning writer, Tom Taylor, is kicking butt with his new characters and villains in Detective. A lot of ongoing. Green Lantern and Green Arrow continuing. So make sure you check out lunardistribution.com and see all of these. Personally, I love this Elliot Kalin, Harley Quinn run right now, and the cover that Elizabeth Torque put together with Mr. Pig, or Professor Pig. Sorry, he's a professor. He earned that degree. Just hilarious. Are there any DC titles that really stand out to you of late, Kyle? A lot of things, but we got to rush towards that top 10. I lost Kyle, but wonderful DC books that you can all check out. The last one I'm really going to have to point out is, of course, Superman. That Nathan Zerdy cover is awesome, but now that we have Lois Lane as Superwoman in this unbelievable run that Joshua Williamson has been putting together, it is going to be far more interesting to see what is happening to her after the big issue 22 and her special reveals. So I don't want to spoil those for anyone, but definitely worth taking a look at. A lot of great books, once again, DC from lunardistribution.com. I apologize to everyone that we didn't get a chance to focus on Indie and DC as much this week, but we have to hit that top 10. So let's do the top 10 comics for Monday, February 3rd, FOC. See if we can get those on. little bit crazy as we had to rush everything up from that long interview today. Here it comes. So, everyone, this is the fun of live. Just to point out, we have a wonderful, wonderful production crew here at The Experience who are also working on a lot of other great shows. Keep in mind, there is a range of shows that deal with interviews, fun reviews on comics, and the opportunity to buy comics. Hopefully, you can always go to your local comic shop, that you have a local comic shop to get your final orders purchased from or ordered through. If you ever can't, we offer a link with the availability to do that. And we have a lot of other wonderful stores that operate here on The Experience, so you can buy comics through them. But now that we got it here, here are our top 10 for February 3rd, Monday, FOC. And we're going to start off with Spawn Scorched 38. That is technically the Gunslinger number 3 or number 1 cover. But don't worry, if you haven't seen it, it's that beautiful Kevin Keane cover of Lady Spawn amidst a bevy of incredible rifles with the John Layman group coming back together and a new powerful Spawn Scorched team. This is the Avengers of Spawn that you'll love. Number 9 is that stunning Rachta Lynn cover. As I said, these are the type of things you normally expect to be a 1 in 25 ratio. This being an open order cover is going to make it so more people can discover Rachta, and I think it is going to be a high demand one. Tom King is kicking butt on this book. In spot 8, we have Vampirella 675, big anniversary issue, and Elias Chatzodias doing a stunning cover. I think it's the first cover I've seen that actually states the year 2025. Really fun mix right there. Elias always known for doing that beautiful pinup, sexy female femme fatale. So great one to consider. Speaking of awesome female characters and top tier artists, Mark Brooks bringing us what looks like a pulp sci-fi book cover in the way of Spider-Gwen and the Ghost Spider number 11. I'm really excited about this book because we're going to have Spider-Gwen team up with King Loki to do a sci-fi adventure in space. Yes, we're getting a cosmic story with Spider-Gwen and Loki, two characters I would not think would ever need to have a cosmic story, but I am excited. And this cover, I think, will draw a lot of attention. It is the A cover, too. Batman 89 concludes its new miniseries Echoes, which is almost a what if Tim Burton would have continued on with the Batman films of 89 the way that they were intended. We obviously got Robin, Batgirl, and a Harley Quinn, along with our awesome Harvey Dent that would have been portrayed by Lando Calrissian's, my mind is a blank.
Billy D. Williams.
There you go, Billy D. Williams. Thank you for coming in on that, Kyle. So all of that in this beautiful movie poster style cover. It looks incredible. And I love that we really have that Keaton style Batman on there. Everything about this just looks awesome. Number 5, as we get to that final run, Web of Spider-Verse, New Blood. I want to point out the Aereo Anindito cover showing off our 3 new Spider characters. That should be a big one. Number 4, of course it had to be 4, is Fantastic Four facsimile number 1. I love this Alex Ross cover. This is a reuse of this cover. It was originally used for one of the omnibuy, but you're not having to spend $125 to get that thick omnibus. Now you get a reprint of number 1, the big key issue that introduces the Fantastic Four, and own that stunning cover. Beautiful way to get it. In spot 3, Absolute Wonder Woman, that beautiful Homer cover, making Absolute Wonder Woman absolutely cooler than she already is. In spot 2, I have to give a lot of credit. Luana Vecchio is just blowing up everywhere. She has some amazing, amazing image titles. If you aren't reading Doll Parts and you're looking for a mature book, you likely need to, give her some attention. And her doing this Not Safe for Work Penthouse issue could be another place where people who are loving Dollhouse and Lovesick can track down her artwork. Finally, here's the big one. Pop Kill. Obviously, Jimmy talked a lot about this, but I want to point out the numbers on this. When they kickstarted this back in 2020, it got $60,000 funding. But realistically, you're selling to a small audience on Kickstarter. Now this gets to go to the grand world. Everyone gets to read and discover this book. And when they did the Adam Hughes cover of issue number 4, the aftermarket on that book blew up to $600. Even the issue number 3 Bill Sienkiewicz cover blew up to $90. You paid $60 on Kickstarter to pledge and get those issue 3 and 4 covers. And now you're talking $690 value on the aftermarket. It's insane. Even the second printing is $150 plus. If you want a good speculative purchase, if you want a great way to get a hot cover on this already amazing story, this new Brian Stelfreeze cover that is very mature for Popkill is going to be unbelievably in demand. Keep in mind, not a lot of stores are going to stock mature covers. You should talk to your local comic shop, see if they are, see if they'll order it for you. Make sure you get one set aside, maybe even 2. And if you want to take a look at what it is underneath the blue line, if you go back to previewsworld.com/finalordersdue, they forgot to censor it. So you can see the naughtiness that Stelfreeze drew there. Beautiful, beautiful cover. I think this is going to be insanely demanded, especially with that Adam Hughes cover for issue number 4, hitting the $600 mark. People are going to go crazy trying to get these. All right. With that, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I love that you guys are all totally going to reach out to your local comic shop and get your list of what you want on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, February 3rd to them, so they can make sure they get these books. It has been a trying and insane year in the world of comics so far in 2025, and we're barely a month in. So anything you can do to help support your local comic shop, get your orders in, make it easy for them to get you your books, and also to guarantee you're not missing out the books you want, is going to make the world a lot better. Thank you guys all for watching. We will be back next Friday with another incredible guest and more amazing comics on next week's Final Order Cutoff. Thank you guys for watching. Order up.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.